Parenting has changed everything. My life used to be very much about achievement and following some kind of predefined definition of success, and having Alec really altered that for me.
You're responsible for this little person's life, this little person's well-being, and it's on the parents to make sure that they set up the right values.
It's very different in my generation compared with my parents' generation. At that time, there's no parenting books, right? And there's no social media judging how you raise your kids.
I'm learning about myself. I think I have found a basket of patience somewhere that I didn't think I had, that I think I have now.
Life is no longer about me or us. It's strictly about them. And that became very acute, specifically with Elliot's heart condition. About a week after Elliot was born, and my wife, was concerned that Elliot was lethargic, he really wasn't eating. And the doctor got there and put the stethoscope on his chest and heard his heart beating so fast. He said, okay, listen, there's no time for an ambulance. I need you to take the child to Children's Hospital right now. We get pulled out into the family room, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting. And that's the first time where I had an emotional breakdown, because I didn't know if I was going to see my son again. And the lead surgeon walks in very calm, cool, collected, and he's like, okay, we're all set. You can go see your son. And the machine was taking care of all of his heart and lung functions, giving his heart the rest that it needs, but he was there. And I was thankful for that. And in that very moment, I looked at this little 7-pound boy and I said to him, I need you to save me. I don't know what I'm going to do without you.
When my son was diagnosed with autism, it was a big surprise. What concerns me is his social capabilities, his ability to communicate with other people, his ability to understand how other people's minds work, because his mind is so different. It's made me a more confident person, which is a really strange thing to say, I think, because confidence is not something that really goes hand in hand with parenting. But for me, a lot of my adult sense of confidence came after James was born, because I started to let go of a lot of things that that would have consumed me before.
We are now in this world of overflowing information, so it's really hard to make a decision, right? And also you're always second guessing yourself. Am I doing the right thing for my child, right? So you worry about understimulating your child, overstimulating your child. Am I too protective of my child so he's now facing the real world? Or I'm not protecting enough so he lost his sense of security, right?
I work for a private equity firm, and lots of people have lots of money, and everybody's talking about, oh, well, your kid has to go to this preschool, and if you want to get him in, you got to have this interview.
We are constantly aware of the diversity piece. We have a blended, mixed family. You feel the segregation in Boston in a unique way, or at least for a Canadian. I was born and raised in Canada until I was about 18, you feel it. And we're really trying to talk a lot about what it means to be accepting and to bring diversity into your home, and we're struggling with it.
My biggest worry right now is because my son is an introverted kid, and we know this society, right? The society is favoring the extroverted personality. So I start to do a lot of reading, especially in Susan Cain's books about the quiet power of introverts. So I love that book.
The biggest challenge that I faced being a parent, keeping my kids safe. And when I say safe, I mean keeping my kid knowledgeable, my child knowledgeable about the rigors of what goes on in the world. Ever since she was 6, I haven't sugarcoated too much for her, and letting her know what things are good and what things are bad, what you should look out for, and what I personally keep you safe from.
It feels like we're becoming a very insulated, ourselves first kind of world. In the parenting world, it seems like we're all just want the best thing for our kids, and at any cost. I think when you want success so much for your children, which is wonderful, it can maybe come at the cost of how we treat other people.
At 4.5, James has early literacy skills, but we have not been pushing on reading or even really writing, because we've been so focused on trying to get him to communicate verbally. And there are definitely kids at 4.5 who can read, and who, for their parents, that's very important.
As we've gone through this journey in parenthood, it's comforting to see that we all are experiencing those same sort of situations, those same frustrations. It really does take a village to raise children, and it's important to have that network. Everyone needs that network because people are busy with their careers, with their separate lives, other issues.
We decide to do things differently now that we have a child, right? We want the child to be part of the community, right? And then we have to be part of the community.
You start to realize that you have more in common than you think you do with all these other parents, because all of us are trying to find a way for our children to learn and to be safe and to be happy.
I love connecting with other parents too, and share, our lives, because when you're with a baby like 24/7, sometimes you just want some adult time.
Ever since I had Lucas, right, so I started to join some internet groups like mommy forums or support groups like that. So that gave me opportunity to get to know a whole new group of women. We speak the same language, we care about the same things. I also learn from them.
I think if I had more time, I would work on my support network. Everybody is struggling with something, and in particular, the single working moms.
My wife coming from France, France is a country that has a lot of social institutions that put family first. Here, we're more, work first, more business. And there's a way to bring those two things together.
In the mommy forum I went to, like every month, there's a debate about stay-home mom versus working mom. Like which camp are you and which one is better for raising kids, right? So I don't think there's a right answer for that. But sometimes like the stay-at-home moms, they can judge the working moms. And the other way around happens too, right?
I think being a working parent, whether you're a mom or a dad, is really hard. For me, it's a lack of feeling satisfied. When I'm at work, all I want to do is come home. But I've worked really hard to be where I'm at, and there are things that I don't get out of being with my son. I haven't had the opportunity to do the moms groups. A lot of them meet during the workday. Even when I meet moms at the park, they want to have play dates during the week, and it's really hard because there are a lot of women who don't work. And I have friends who don't work, and it's a struggle.
Here in Boston, my daughter will grow up with much more space than I had back home, because back home, it's completely normal for different generations in your family to live in the same home.
My daughter's an only child. This means that she's not fighting and learning good fighting skills from growing up. Because of that, we actually take a more active approach in making sure that there are play dates and other things.
I want the best for my children, as any parent, but I think that it's important to let the children know, as long as they're doing an honest, sincere effort in whatever it is that they're doing, that's rewarding, that's reward. If they fail, that's okay. We talk about it.
Our parents are now 60-something, 70-something. They didn't have the same pressures that we have today, because there's so much more stuff out there for the kids. We had so much more to do outside. Kids today, the pressure for them only comes to, did you get the latest Jordans? Did you get the latest iPad?
What concerns me is his social capabilities, his ability to communicate with other people, his ability to understand how other people's minds work, because his mind is so different.
We don't standardize testing in Canada, Israel. Watching her starting to be in that stage where I know that it's going to be coming in school is a little bit anxiety provoking. I wish that we could take some of the competition out of this. She's a very smart little girl. I know she's going to do well. I am going to try to keep it out of our family environment as long as possible.
I think living in Boston or the surrounding suburbs is a bit of a false reality, and and I think it can be a pressure cooker. Part of the concern about where he goes to preschool, he's going to be surrounded by kids who have this, other parents have exactly the same focus. Their eye is on, Harvard 15 years from now. And is that really how we want to define happiness and success for our children?
I've always been one to make sure that my daughter experiences different things, that she's cultured. I want to make sure that she knows that there's more to her society than just her block. There's more to society than just her city.
In the beginning, we had structured a lot of activities. It's only in the last year that we've said, okay, we're going to cut back on the activities and let them have their own free time with their friends, structure their own situation amongst themselves.
There are some things that right now we're just not doing, which I think we should. Physical exercise is, I think, a big thing. She gets some exercise when she goes places, but we want there to be something more structured, for example, because that's not a strong point of mine.
He loves to be outside. We could never get through a day without going outside.
I do think like younger kids should be spending more time with, the physicality of play, like going outside, playing, drawing, arguing with a sibling.
We all understand the importance, right, for kids to expose to social time. So that's why I think ever since my son was a crawler, I start to bring him to like story times in the library, and also I start to arrange play dates with other moms with similar age kids.
We do a lot of books, and myself or my husband will read 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 books in a row just not to have screen time.
Growing up, we had some technology, but now, everything, it's the information age. My husband, he can Google like how to change a diaper if he needed to.
Having my smartphone just make my life so much easier. I can take pictures and videos of him all the time. I can send it to my friends, right, my family.
Social media is here to stay. It's now a fact of life.
YouTube is the one thing that sort of shocks me. I don't even know how she discovers these channels, but that makes me nervous. I don't want her flicking around on it.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous as heck, especially a father with a girl.
Social media, it's not all bad and it's also not all good. Just like everything in life, you can only do your best, to teach your child that these things should be used for good and not for bad.
So I'm very worried about technology. I have pretty much a no technology rule right now. I mean, no screen time. I feel like I see technology used as a crutch, I guess, for parenting. I'm not going to judge anybody, and maybe I'll get there. Maybe at some point I'll have 2 more kids and I'll be pulling my hair out and they'll all be in front of iPads. I don't know. But my goal is to not use it in that way.
I think technology is always a good thing. So as far as it's just how we use the technology, right?
We have multiple Alexas around the house. We have an Apple TV. We have lots of games on the Apple TV. We have a bunch of tablets. We all have phones. We have laptops. But she's not allowed to use them. And so she can't wait for long car rides, because on a long car ride, she can get the iPad out and play some of those games.
When it comes to social media, I definitely monitor, and her mother does as well, monitor her usage on social media. She's got a couple of things that are kid-friendly, but as far as social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, what's the other one? Snapchat, things of that nature. None of that.
Technology is part of, the modern world, and, I understand that it's probably part of curriculum in schools now. So I don't also want to have him live in a bubble where he doesn't know how to use the tools that are part of our, everyday society.
I'm on a screen an enormous amount of the time, and I think that screens can be incredible tools, especially for kids in this generation. They need to know how to use them. They need to know how to manipulate them. They need to know how to communicate using a phone or a touch screen or a computer.
Our hope is, first and foremost, we want our child to be healthy both physically and mentally, right? And also we want him to be socially responsible, right? To add value to the society.
I want my son to feel like there's so many things you can do to contribute in this world, and I want him to think that that's okay and to do whatever he's passionate about and to figure out what he's passionate about.
What we're aiming to do is prepare them the best way possible, both from an intellectual standpoint, an emotional standpoint, and a social standpoint, where they have the flexibility to adapt to whatever is going to be thrown at them. As long as they're happy in what they're doing and they're good people, we've won.
As long as my daughter grows up learning to put others before herself, as you know, as our faith teaches, I'll be good. And that is where she'll find true happiness, you know, true joy, when she doesn't look for it like inside herself, but you know, with how she helps other people and how she makes a difference in other people's lives.
My dream for my daughter is to let's dream big. This is a very big dream. My dream for my daughter is to live in a world that's completely equal. Whether we'll see that day, who knows? But hopefully one day she'll see that.
My hopes for James, happiness is number one. Happiness, safety, and knowledge. Those are the three things that I think I focus on most. I hope for him that he is able to find people who understand him and that he can learn to understand other people as well.